I came into the show expecting to hate it, but I actually somewhat enjoyed watching it. Does it work well as a Legally Blonde prequel? No. But does it work well as a teen coming-of-age show? Yes. And after the first few episodes, once I moved past it being a bad prequel and just started taking it for what it was, I had a great time. But first, I do want to focus in a little bit on why it failed as a prequel. This will contain spoilers, FYI. The problem is the show basically follows all the same themes the movie did, making the movie seem redundant and nonsensical to Elle's character development. In both, Elle moves to a place that's completely different from where she lives before. She feels isolated like an outsider, then she grows and finds her people, etc, etc, etc. It kind of just feels like a what if Elle's development from the movie actually happened 5 years earlier in high school. And they don't even try to shy away from this. The scene where Elle's parents tell her that they're going to move to Seattle heavily resembles the breakup scene from the movie. And then when Elle introduces herself to Liz, she does the same type of introduction she does in the movie, where she adds in random facts about herself. But in the show, it makes no sense in the context and just feels bulky and like they're trying to remind you it's a Legally Blonde prequel. Similarly, the pool party scene where Elle shows up in a pink bikini and really stands out because it's not what she's supposed to wear is exactly the same as the costume party in the movie. So then this scene in the movie would teach Elle nothing because she's already learnt this lesson. I will say that I think Lexi Minetry does a great job of portraying Elle. I can tell she really studied the original movies and has all the mannerisms and physicality and the voice down to a T. I found her portrayal so funny, and she actually made me laugh out loud a few times. I think all the cast did a really good job. One other problem I have with this is that Legally Blonde is supposed to be about breaking stereotypes. Yet when she moves to Seattle, everyone is like exactly the same. I know the grunge scene was really popular during this time, but you're telling me not a single person in the school wears any other type of colour ever. They do this introducing the cliques kind of thing, but every table just looks the same. I'm not sure if that's on purpose to be ironic, but it just feels stupid. Prequels like this only work if I can go back and watch the original and see evidence of the things that happened in the prequel. But this show does the opposite. There's zero evidence that any of Seattle happened to movie Elle, so it just feels sloppy and not thought out at all. However, like I said, when you remove the movie, the show becomes so much more watchable. So now I'm going to talk about the show in its own isolated context without considering the movies, as much as I can. Because I truly think if this show had just been about an LA girl moving to Seattle, it would have been reviewed so much better. The main thing I want to talk about is the relationships between the characters. I've seen lots of people talk about how it doesn't matter who she ends up with because we know she marries Emmett. But as I mentioned in my other Legally Blonde video, I could not care less about movie Emmett, and we're ignoring the movie anyways, so... Before we talk about romance, I want to talk about her friendship with Madison. In the first episode, I was expecting Madison to be a fake friend who would betray Elle in some way, but I was pleasantly surprised with how good of a friend she actually was to Elle. However, that being said, I feel like she's not the best friend for Elle, that Elle had outgrown Madison by the end of the series. And she definitely is balanced out much better by her new friends in Seattle. My favourite friendship of hers is with Liz. Liz is the first one to befriend her, albeit with a bit of nudging from her mum, but I feel like their friendship was the most consistent from the start. I think they have a good contrast in style and personality, but in a way that works well together, and I feel that their sense of humour and the jokes they make lays somewhere on the same path. Her friendship/romance with Dustin and Miles, I care about less. I really dislike Dustin's character. I couldn't tell you why, I just do. And he's so far out of Elle's league, and I really don't get the impression she likes him as much as he likes her, so I'm not rooting for them in any way. Miles has the opposite problem, where I feel absolutely nothing for his character. He's the most generic sports boy nothing sandwich, and is nowhere near interesting enough for Elle. I feel like she's lacking chemistry with both of them. I actually feel like she had the most chemistry with Liz. I mean, the way Liz looks at her, even from episode 1, just Obviously, Liz is supposed to end up with Kimberly, and I did enjoy their dynamic and thought they had good chemistry, but they just didn't have enough screen time. I think the two actors work really well together, so I'm not mad about their relationship. If they had more screen time, they'd probably be my fave ship. Kimberly, as a character, I felt was a little bit underdeveloped. There were lots of mentions of her parents and her difficult home life, but it never was expanded on enough to give me enough reason to feel sympathy for her to overshadow how horrible she is to Elle. One character I really enjoyed was Elle's mum. It makes so much sense the way that Elle's mum is portrayed as to why Elle is the way that she is at the start of the series. And Elle's mum's character is so funny and kind of gives me a bit of Moira Rose vibes, just a little bit. And I'm so glad we got to see development from this character. The Breakfast Club detention episode is definitely my favourite, and it really shows how well Elle found her place and her people in Seattle, and how she's really grown to care about them. The actual plotting and working together was so much more interesting than the whole plot to save Donna and expose the principal, because it was fairly obvious what was going to happen, and it feels like the point of this plot point was just to push the lawyer angle. Jumping back out of the enclosed context of the series, this was clearly a huge scandal that made the news. Elle is smart enough to realise that this would help in her Harvard admissions, but she never mentions it. So once again, it makes zero sense with the film. When Elle is at the internship, it's so clear that she's enjoying it, and she shows how talented she is in fashion. But it feels like they're trying to give her a reason to turn down the Golden Globes, which is stupid, because at this point in her life, she does want to work in fashion, so it makes no sense for her to turn down the biggest opportunity of her life for some people she's only known for a few months, and who are all ignoring her. And again, it's a pretty impressive thing, the internship, that she would have mentioned on her admissions essay. The last episode actually really annoyed me. The massive overreaction about the essay, especially considering she just saved Donna from 10 years in jail. The line Kimberly reads out that everyone is so shocked about is, "What I've learnt is to treat everyone with love and kindness, even if they don't have a skincare routine." That doesn't seem that bad, especially not to stab someone's face you've made out of cake. And Elle's right. Everyone was so much worse to her when she first arrived, and she put so much effort into helping Donna that you'd think that Liz wouldn't be as mad as she is, especially considering Donna is her mum. And everyone else was appalled by her kissing Miles, but Liz already knew about that. So even if everyone was mad, I wish Liz had been a little bit less mad. The last scene did show Liz forgiving Elle, so I think they'll probably be fine, but I am going to need an apology from Liz. Overall, the concept and the supporting characters of the show have so much potential away from Legally Blonde. But I just feel by tying it to this franchise, the show's potential is limited. That being said, I probably will watch season 2.